So let's get on with our training topic today, which is consistency. And what we're talking about consistency is within your marketing. Now, what people tend to do when they start their marketing campaigns is they have a plan to get their message out there, and I'm not sure if they have a coherent plan for that message. Now, with consistency, what we're looking to do is, as we do with all marketing, is what we're trying to do. Marketing is basically trying to get people to know, like, and trust your business. And it typically takes somewhere between 8 and 11 touch points. So that's 8 and 11 contacts within your marketing message or within your business before someone's ready to buy, if they are a completely cold prospect. By cold, I mean they don't know who you are, they've never dealt with you before. So it takes between 8 and 11 touch points before they're ready to buy. So what we need to do with consistency, with the consistency of our message, and we're going to break it down into 3 separate areas. We're going to look at consistency within your social media posts, whichever social media platform you're on. And if you're on more than one social media platform, you need to be consistent across them all. We're also going to look at consistency within your website and what consistency with your website brings in terms of results. And then we'll look at consistency within your branding. And I'm going to use the term branding separately from what we would typically refer to, which is a brand. Because most small businesses do not have a brand. What they have is what I would call branding. So brand marketing is used by the likes of Nike or Apple and people like that, and basically they don't want a direct response. What the brand is doing is it's almost a promise of something that brand always delivers. We need to be a bit more specific than that in our marketing. We need to do what we call call to action marketing, which means whatever we do with our marketing, we want the person receiving that message to take a action. And that is more than likely to visit a website, or it might be to like or to share a social media post, which then increases its exposure to other social media users. So let's talk about consistency with regards to our website, because quite often everything we do points back towards the website. If we're doing some marketing online, we want somebody normally to visit a landing page on the website and take an action on there. That's basically what most of the time we're trying to achieve. So what does having consistency on our website, what does that look like in terms of our website? Well, if, for example, you want your website to rank higher on Google or other search engines, what we call search engine optimization, which just basically means it ranks higher on those search engines, is we need to put content out there. The website needs to be regularly updated, because the way the search engine algorithms work is they look for websites with recent and current and relevant content. So one way of getting regular content onto your website, having regular updates of that website, is to do a blog. And a blog on your website is a great way of having. So if one way of referring to it is ready-made, bite-sized pieces of information about your business, and a blog's a great way of just carrying on doing that. And then what you put in your blog, you can also repeat onto social media, and you can repurpose that content across maybe 3, 4, even 5 different platforms, and basically use the same images, the same text, if you like, and it will help with your search engine optimization. Another way of getting regular and being consistent in your posts on your website is to have a news page and have a weekly or monthly newsletter, and that's a great way of continuously updating your website and getting new content on there. And the other way is to have regular offers, so you might have a monthly offer, and that's another way. So there are ways of making sure that you consistently post content on your website which will improve its SEO. The other thing that has to be right on all areas where potential customers can reach you, so everywhere you have a footprint, if that's the right word, on the internet, is to make sure your address is always written the same way. And I know this sounds a little bit like, oh, how does that going to affect things? Well, it adds authority to your web presence. Is every time someone looks up your address, everywhere your address is listed, it is listed in exactly the same way. So when I've looked at this across various platforms that our address appears on, we've got the word industrial estate in the address, and sometimes it's written out as industrial estate. Sometimes it's written out as INDEST, and that isn't consistent. It needs to be the same time, written the same way every time. And because what that does is anytime any of the algorithms are looking for your business, they see it written exactly the same way. And that's one way. It's a very small way, but it is one way of improving it. SEO, but it's another example of how consistency works. It's the same with your telephone number. Is it on there with +44 and then the dial-in area code and then the number, or is it on there with a 01 for the area code and then the number? Stuff like that matters as well when it comes to the consistency of how you present your address and your telephone number on the net. It's a small thing, but it does make a difference. Remember that everything you do is pointing back, or quite often points back to your website. So the website, if you like, is where you collect these new potential customers. And when they visit your website, what they should find is every page on your website is similar. And what I mean by similar, that's what we're getting back to, is consistency. And this is when it comes down to not what we call the brand, as I've explained earlier on. We don't really have a brand, we call it our branding, is that the colours are the same, the fonts are the same, and the type of images are the same across all areas of our social media and our website presence. And we take that a little bit further, that the logo should always be the same, the tone should be the same, the type of message should be the same, and the vocabulary you use should be consistent with your image, your vision, and your values. And the reason for having that much consistency across all of those things is because you want to attract the right type of customer. Because as you take your marketing further and further and you get more and more sort of proficient at it, you will be speaking to one individual person, what we call your avatar, your ideal customer. And that message should be consistent across all areas of your online presence. And even offline, the same thing applies. Your branding should be consistent. So what we're talking about here is the sort of colours you use, the fonts you use, the type of images you use, the tone of the message itself, and the vocabulary you use should all be consistent with your vision and the values of your business. And the logo, if it's present, should always be the same. And that, if you think about that for your website, on various pages on your website, it's also going to be the same for any of your social media posts. So it doesn't matter whether you're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever it is that you feel is where your customers hang out, you need to post regularly. So if you start off doing a post every week, that starts to build a following. And as more and more people see your posts, share, like, or interact with it, it's called social media for a reason. Your social media posts should be designed to get a response from the audience when they see it, which will then increase its exposure. A typical post on something like Facebook is shown to around about 2% of your audience, which is a sobering thought if you put a lot of effort into your sort of regular social media posts. Is the reach, as they call it, the amount of people that will see that is shrinking all the time, because that forces you to use ads. So while we're talking about ads, once again, any ads you do, even if they're done by someone else, an ad agency or whatever, should use that same branding that you use on your social media posts, on your website, etc., so that the consistency is the same. Now, what will happen is you'll soon get fed up with seeing the same colours, the same fonts, the same type of images, the same tone of message, the same vocabulary being used. And if it's starting to feel boring to you, you've probably got it right. Because the temptation is to continuously rebrand. But if you remember, the whole point of your marketing is to get people to know, like, and trust your business, and it requires 8 to 11 touch points before someone's ready to buy from you. They need to recognize that social media post, that website they've landed on, whatever it is, that ad, whatever it is they've seen, whatever it is that, whatever touch point they had, somewhere in their mind, it's got to remind them that this is coming from the same place. And what does that for a potential customer is consistency. They see you regularly because you post weekly, daily, whatever it is that you do. The message is always very, very similar. It can be something as simple as how you start your post. It can be the vocabulary. It should be consistent with the vocabulary you use everywhere, including when they turn up at your business. I always like to think of the images should be of your business. They should be of the people who are there, the types of cars that you typically work on. All too often it's too tempting to use an image of the one car a year that's really, really impressive. You know, the one Bentley, for example, that you work on a year. Oh, we'll get a picture of that up because it looks really smart. But that might put other people off, because when they turn up at your place and it's all, for example, you know, it's not Bentleys, it's Fiestas and Astras and Corsas, and that's exactly what they drive, and that's your bread and butter customers. That's the images you want on your website. That consistency of what the customer's experience is going to be online should transfer over to the real world experience in your actual physical business. So it's so tempting every time you think, right, we're going to do a new campaign, let's change this, let's change that. It's absolutely the wrong thing to do, because you need that consistency in your brand so that the customer recognizes it time and time again, until it gets to the point where it interacts, it responds to that call to action, whether that be on an ad, which must always have a call to action that points back to somewhere like your website, where you can get details about that customer so you can continue to interact with them and increase the number of touch points so you get past the 8 to 11 points where they're then ready to buy from you because they know, like, and trust your business. And that is the whole point of consistency. It is so that customers, whether it be a week apart, a month apart, 6 months apart, between seeing anything that you've put out there on either social media, on your website, or a piece of local marketing, that they recognize it was your business that they saw. It was your business they saw before, and then when they turn up at your physical business, it all feels exactly the same, and that's how you build that trust. Hopefully this short training video on consistency has been enlightening for you, that you've got something from it. If nothing else, remember the 3 things you need to be consistent on is your brand, it's the content, regular content posted on your website, and regular posts on your social media that all reflect your vision and your values. Thank you very much for listening.